Good evening. It's 7 p.m. on April 10th, 2025. Here in historic Town Hall, please be reminded that these proceedings are being televised and recorded by Sandwich Community Television. May we rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is anyone here for public comment? Okay. Review and approval of minutes.
Make a motion we approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2025.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Okay. Town manager report.
Just a few quick updates in terms of upcoming meetings. At the bottom of the agenda, the Select Board's next meeting is Thursday, April 24th, but we're planning to start that at 5 o'clock, not at 7, so that's a typo. We do have several public hearings advertised for the beginning of that meeting, and I'm sure we'll be talking about the town meeting warrant. And then if the House has come out with their estimated state budget by then, we probably can add a discussion on that. The only other thing I really wanted to touch on, because most of the other things are on the agenda a little bit later, next Wednesday night, April 16th at 5 o'clock at the Center for Active Living, Town Moderator Sean Roush is going to hold a basic town meeting 101 session for anyone who might be interested from the public. And that's just to go through, who's at town meeting, who does what are standard motions like, how's voting done, just really basic. It's not to go over the warrant that's proposed for this town meeting. It's just a general overview of all town meetings. And that's about it.
Correspondence, statements and announcements. I have just a few, if you don't mind. School committee met last night. We wish Oak Ridge Principal Trish Hill best wishes going forward into the Assistant Superintendent position at Mashpee Public Schools. Best wishes as well to Assistant Finance Human Resources Director Monica De La Hoya, who has been hired as the new business manager, also in Mashpee. Both positions have been posted, and a comprehensive search for replacements will be conducted. On March 28th, Sandwich hosted Comprehensive School Threat Assessment Guidelines training. This is a multidisciplinary team approach to ascertain whether a threat is transient or substantive. There was an informative update by Mary Kate Lott of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, CPAC. This morning, the district safety team met and will adopt the CSTAG. Education, evacuation, and reunification drills are scheduled in May. Mr. Harper represented traffic flow charts and resolutions to the perceived challenges. The Sandwich Middle High School will discuss everyday traffic concerns going forward. And just a quick one on Tuesday the 15th at the Cal as well. Sandwich Cares will hold their next meeting. It's being presented by the We Can group. That'll be the primary topic, and that starts at 6 p.m., and that's Tuesday, April 15th. And that's all I have at the moment. So, staff meeting, proclamation for the Sandwich Glass Museum 200th year celebration of glassmaking in Sandwich. Margie O'Brien, Mary Childs, and Madeline Little will be representing the group. If I could just point out, though, to make sure that your green lights are on, and speak into the microphone, please.
Great. Thank you very much for having us tonight.
Our pleasure.
On behalf of the Sandwich Glass Museum and the Sandwich Historical Society, we're here to tell you a little bit about our 200th year anniversary celebrating glassmaking in Sandwich. My name is Margie O'Brien. I am one of the trustees for the Sandwich Glass Museum. I'm joined here today by Madeline Little, who is our new marketing and events coordinator, and Ed Colopy here, who is on our board as well. 200 years ago, glassmaking came to Sandwich. Deming Jarvis came in and he started thinking about what he could do with the great timber and canals that were here in Sandwich. And so he came down and he brought the Industrial Revolution to Sandwich by bringing in a manufacturing plant that provided 500 jobs to people in the community, and then all the economic changes that occurred here to support the families and people that were participating in the manufacturing process. So at the Sandwich Glass Museum and Sandwich Historical Society, we decided that this would be a great year to celebrate glassmaking in Sandwich because it's so important to our economy here. So we have two big celebrations coming up in 2025. The first one is April 26th, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. That's going to be our recreation or reenactment of the first shovel in the ground to build the manufacturing plant. The second event is going to be at the end of July, the last weekend of July. We're calling it the Glass Gathering. For those of you that are familiar with glass making, gathering is the first thing that you do to take the molten glass out of the furnace to build beautiful art or utilitarian glass. So what we're going to do tonight, though, is tell you about the celebration for 200 years of glassmaking by recreating and reenacting what it was like back 200 years ago to put that first shovel in the ground and build the industry here in Sandwich. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Madeline Little. She's going to walk us through the deck of what we're going to be doing here.
Thank you, Margie. So yes, on April 26th, that's Saturday, starting at 3 o'clock, we're going to host this grand groundbreaking ceremony event. The idea is that we're all going to start at the Sandwich Glass Museum, and then we're going to have a walking tour that will reenact the groundbreaking in costume. So as you can see in our slide deck here, we've got the idea of recreating historically what the townsfolk might have looked like in the 1800s, around 1825, when that happened. So at the next one, we're going to have a guided history walk with Scott Fleck. He's going to stop off at a few places along Main Street and Jarvis Street to show off the historical relevant places to Sandwich glass making. And then we're going to arrive at the factory site, which is at the corner of Factory and Jarvis. And we're going to have that reenactment with an actual shovel, but we will not be digging into the ground, I promise you. And we're going to have a few other historic characters there to support this momentous event, including who is not actually there, but we are going to take some artistic liberty, President Monroe and his wife, as well as Charles Lapham, who is the 16-year-old who did the first gathering of glass, and the Kelleher sisters, who were female glassmakers, very important to the glassmaking history. So we've got a wide range of historic characters that will be played by our very own board members and staff. And then we're going to head back to the museum. We're going to walk through town, point out all of the great shops along the street, and get the businesses involved. When we get back to the museum, we're going to have an excellent reception with live music, entertainment. We're going to have sea shanties and a selfie booth where you can put on top hats and shawls and bonnets and things and take your photo. And then we're going to be able to interact with local actors who, thanks to the Barnstable Comedy Club and the Falmouth Theater Guild, will be in full period costume in order to talk about the history of the town, talk about the history of Cape Cod, and of course, talk about the history of glassmaking. And then we're going to have a live glassmaking demonstration with our very own artist, Kate Thomas, so you'll get to see it in our hot shop as it's being made. We'll also have limited edition bicentennial commemorative glasses. This is the type of glass that would be used by probably some of the Irish factory workers in the time. So this is a tavern glass, but this is a new recreation. This is made by David McDermott of McDermott Studios here in Sandwich. And there are a limited amount just for the 200th anniversary. And lastly, we will have an auction of David McDermott's wife and also longtime resident of Sandwich, Yukimi Matsumoto. For our Women's History event, she actually created a glass piece known as Red Obsidian in our hot shop, and that will be our one and only auction piece for that event. So we are here to ask you to help spread the word of this event. Let your community members know, let your neighbors know, pretty much just let anyone you think might be interested in this know, and encourage them, of course, though it is not required, we would love it if you would attend in your own costumes. We accept any costumes from any time in the 1800s. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you are a historian and you own some interesting historical pieces, now is the time to bring them out and share them with us. Thank you.
Very interesting, thank you.
And the one thing that I would just finish up with is we are hoping that there will be some representation from the town. I don't know whether you all have decided who will be there, but we do hope that we will at least have someone there from the town so that we can celebrate the combination of business and community.
Yes. Anybody else? Okay.
And the board there's a proclamation that we have them being passed around to sign, so that's
Excellent.
coming too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Read this into the record. Okay. Proclamation, 200th year celebration of glassmaking in Sandwich, Massachusetts. Whereas the town of Sandwich is proud to recognize the Sandwich Historical Society and its Glass Museum for their exceptional dedication to preserving and sharing the rich history of glassmaking in our community. And whereas 2025 marks the bicentennial celebration of glassmaking in Sandwich, a tradition that began in 1825 with the establishment of the Boston Sandwich Glass Company, shaping the town's cultural and economic heritage. And whereas the Sandwich Historical Society and its Glass Museum have been steadfast stewards of its legacy, educating residents and visitors alike through exhibitions, programs, and events that highlight the artistry, craftsmanship, and historical significance of Sandwich glass. And whereas, through their efforts, the Sandwich Glass Museum continues to illuminate the ingenuity and craftsmanship of generations of glassmakers, ensuring that this important aspect of our town's identity remains vibrant and celebrated. And whereas their leadership in commemorating 200 years of glassmaking in Sandwich fosters community pride, promotes cultural tourism, and inspires future generations to appreciate and engage with our town's artistic and industrial heritage. Now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Sandwich, do hereby recognize and commend the Sandwich Historical Society and its Glass Museum for their outstanding contributions to the preservation, education, and celebration of Sandwich's glassmaking history. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of the town of Sandwich to be affixed on today, April 10th, 2025.
Make a motion?
Sure.
I make a motion, we accept the proclamation as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hochter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Enthusiastically, yes. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Do we have a copy of this? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. On to old business, the fiscal year 2026 budget update.
No real substantive updates. We haven't heard anything from the state about their budget estimates for both cherry sheet receipts and assessments. Earlier today, there was a Mass Municipal Association training with town manager and human resource offices, and I was able to go. And the executive director of the MMA did do a brief presentation because there were some additional House budget hearings today. And I would just stress that, Sandwich is very fortunate in a sense because we don't get much discretionary state aid. So we're not dependent on the state as other communities, as much as some other communities might be. About the far and away, the biggest aid we get is almost $8 million that goes into the school department budget. And we haven't heard anything where those funds would be in jeopardy. And most of the accounts that we get a fairly minor amount of money, don't appear to be in jeopardy at all. It was interesting from a bigger picture perspective, just some of the items that the state is struggling with and not knowing, how things are going to change once the federal budget is finalized. And one of the things that was talked about is a pretty significant part of the state revenues come from federal Medicare reimbursements that the state receives directly. I mean, a lot. Almost 27%, I think they said, of their total revenues, which is huge. So, how that all plays out and, what impacts that might have primarily for state departments and services, to be determined. But it was just interesting to hear if everything goes as planned, the House plans to release their numbers late next week. So I think we're locked in for town meeting. I know we're locked in for town meeting, and I think we feel very safe with what our estimates were and what the budget's predicated upon. So, as always, as soon as I get those numbers, I'll get a summary update to the board and share it with the finance committee as well. We're not expecting anything scary either way, so we should be fine. And then I don't know if there's any other questions about the budget or, it's all similar to what we've talked about for months and voted a while ago. Keep going? Or, yeah.
We have discussed it, talked about it, received presentations on it. I think at this point in time, we should be pretty comfortable. Can I just ask, are we going to give Ms. O'Brien the proclamation?
If you want, it wouldn't hurt if we could make a copy just to have it for town hall, but we can get it to you, or if you want to take it, you can take it. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Appreciate your understanding. Yes, thank you very much. Okay. Review and finalize annual town meeting warrant for posting May 5th, 2025.
Yeah, so early last week, I got a copy of the full warrant to town council for review. John Giorgio went through things. Literally did not change a word, although it's clear that we have several people proofing this to see what typos we may have made, so that's being looked at. The only comment he had back that was substantive is the Article 11 that was on the board's draft last week, which related to a $50,000 recommended transfer from federal opioid settlement funds that we have on hand. And Heather had explained what the intent was for that. The state passed a law late in 2023 that any expenditures from opioid settlement funds is now not subject to a town meeting vote to appropriate. It's a vote of the chief executive officer, which is the select board. So John said take that article off. So all I did was remove Article 11. All the other articles, after that were shifted up a number. So we're at a grand total of 22 warrant articles. Nothing else changed. Like I had said, we're going to go through this, a couple of us, a few more times to make sure to try to get any typos. Several people have been through it already. Just to highlight, in the back of the warrant, under the reference material, there's a QR code from the town clerk's office that would link to a town meeting guide, just to explain, if anyone's new to town meeting, what it is, how it works, and then trying to honor the spirit of the proposed changes in the town charter. There's probably like a 5 or 6 page, as simply as we could explain each warrant article, usually in a sentence or two. There's a reference to that in the back of the warrant, along with if there's any planned funding source, what the planned source is. As the board knows, it's the motion that's made at town meeting that's, locks that in, but any planned funding sources are identified. And then if there is any estimated tax impact compared to FY25, that's reflected. As we've talked about, the only article that impacts taxes is Article 2, so that's spelled out there. But again, even the zoning articles, we have some really just basic explanations of what each article is attempting to do, including the petition articles, and then the long-range plan that the select board have talked about for the last several meetings is included there, and that includes the change that Patrick had mentioned a few meetings ago. Other than that, I don't think we made any changes, so if anyone sees anything, we would have a limited amount of time to make any of those, but I think that's good to go. There's the one-page summary of the overall budget that is in every select board and finance committee packet, and then there's some standard definitions and a table of motions in the back of the warrant. So there's more reference material than there is actual legal language on the budget. So, and I want to stress, because that was one thing that, as I spoke with the town moderator and the town clerk about the planned public outreach next Wednesday, the meat of the warrant is actually a legal document. We follow pretty strict guidelines from town council on how articles should be worded for the warrant and why the motions are more specific than the articles. But it's clear if you read the articles, it's quite clear what they all do. So I think it's good to go. So if the board's good, and I had a proposed motion, just if you wanted to approve that, then once you had the signature pages, we would only make a change if we heard something back from town council or if we found a typo. And the goal would be, the latest we have to post it is next Friday. I think we plan to post it earlier than that, probably in the middle of the week. Get it off to the printer, and so far the pre-town meeting has not been scheduled yet, so I need to check several schedules to see how that'll work.
Proposed motion to finalize. Move that the board finalize the articles of the annual town meeting warrant as presented, with any language changes recommended by town council, and posting the signed warrant by the required deadline.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Okay. Request for approval and execution of the acceptance of deeds for 3 parcels of land located at 2025 Discovery Hill Road, 190R Discovery Hill Road, and 116A Keys Way, Sandwich, and other documents necessary for the town's purchase of the properties.
Just a quick overview. We found out at the last day in March that the bankruptcy court judge, the federal bankruptcy court judge in Boston, Judge Panos, issued final orders, 2 of them on that date, that basically ordered the sale of the 3 parcels that the chair referenced, that totals just over 86.5 acres. Located off Kaya's Way Extension and Discovery Hill Road. Awarded that to the town for the price of $3.3 million, as has been announced. I think we read a public statement a few days after the order, because we had a board meeting that night. So the motion that's in front of you that I left is the proper language that town council wants us to vote tonight. And then with that, there's an acceptance of deed document in your sign folder. with 3 separate deeds. Those need to be signed. I just want to stress the process as it's been explained to Heather and I. The bankruptcy trustee, which is the attorney that the bankruptcy judge assigns to sort of handle the case, and represent the court through the whole system, is working on all the paperwork on his end. There's things other than the deeds that they need to get, certain documents from land court. So some of those are starting to arrive. In a perfect world, if everything's issued by the land court and we take the vote tonight and sign the documents and get it to the bankruptcy trustee, they want to shoot for a closing next Wednesday, April 16th. We'll get routing instructions before that, and the remaining funds, as the board knows, we did a down payment of $300,000 that was fully refundable. The remaining funds would be transferred to the court, and then they take it from there. And then eventually it would get recorded, probably not that day, but the closing should happen fairly quickly thereafter. And my understanding is a bankruptcy court judge's order to this extent carries as much weight as a land court decision, so it's virtually irreversible. So, we don't really have any risk to proceed. If something changes down the road, it's on them, not us, and we get 100% of our money back. I don't think we're really worried about that. We purposely haven't talked about the reasons why this land makes so much sense and is so critical to the town for the next 50 years. And it's probably not the evening to go into that until the closing actually happens, but maybe at our meeting in late April or the first meeting in May, we should talk a little bit more about that. And I know the board's aware of all the due diligence that the select board and town council and staff and many other public parties went through to try to see if this made sense and why it did. So I guess at that, I'll leave it. And there's a proposed motion. If that gets approved, we'll transmit the signed acceptance of deeds, and then the attorneys take it from there. And as soon as a closing happens, I can let you know.
Move the town vote to approve and execute the following documents. To officiate the town's purchase of the properties at 225 Discovery Hill Road, 190R Discovery Hill Road, and 116A Kayers Way, Sandwich. Together, the properties for wastewater purposes. Number 1, acceptance of deed from Stephen West, trustee of bankruptcy, for bankruptcy estate of Mark W. Weisentanner, docket number 22-11487 CJP, for the property at 225 Discovery Hill Road, Sandwich. Number 2, acceptance of deed, Stephen West, trustee of bankruptcy, for the bankruptcy estate of Discovery Hill, LLC, docket number 23-10741 CJP, for the property at 190R Discovery Hill Road, Sandwich. 3, acceptance of deed from Stephen West, successor trustee of Kaya Discovery Realty Trust, for the property at 116A Kayers Way, Sandwich, and any other closing documents approved by the town council necessary to execute the town's purchase of the properties. Let's see, I can read that too, I guess. And further, to authorize the chair or the vice chair of the select board to execute documents on behalf of the select board.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Okay,
Thank you all very much for that.
thank you.
That's a big
Okay,
deal.
and the paperwork is being processed, and we'll hopefully have a closing next week. Okay. Thank you. Other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chairman. I have none. Anybody else? Okay. New business. Other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chairman. Anybody else? I do have a question, though, on this, on on the ribbon cutting, are we,
If anyone's interested in going, we can respond.
okay, so we're on our own to consider it.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I don't-
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Cape Cod Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking.
New section there.
Okay. And that would be on Thursday, April 24th, and 4 to 6. That's a tight squeeze.
Yeah.
Yes,
Same night.
right. Okay. Okay. It is what it is. Sorry. Okay, anybody else for new business? Anybody for public comment? Yes.
Good evening, Ed Colopy, 15 Scorton Marsh Road. Good to be with you tonight. The town has been a great neighbor and supporter of the Sandwich Historical Society and the Sandwich Glass Museum for years. Thank you for all we've done together. As a town resident and trustee of the museum, thank you for the recognition with the proclamation presented this evening. So although Margie and Madeline took us through the historical side and looking back at 200 years, I want to ensure the board that one of the words in the proclamation talked about vibrancy. And that vibrancy is well underway and continuing day in and day out. One example is Margie's work and leadership in putting together a new museum discovery glass room, which will be family-friendly and an interactive part of the museum for children. Another one of our staff members, our curator, Olivia Padua, has also recently implemented audio-guided tours throughout the museum to help explain the various exhibits. So that vibrancy is very much alive, and a lot of that is in thanks to town support, business support, neighbor support, and really all-around town effort. So I invite you all to come visit us at the museum. I'm happy to meet any of you there at any time, and make sure you get the tour and bring your families as well. On another note, I'm pleased to see that the town and board agreed this evening on the land purchase. It really, to me, demonstrates looking forward and an outlook of planning, which I think is critical for the things that are ahead of us as a town. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Colopy. Anybody else for public comment? Okay. Closing remarks? Okay. Oh, sure, sorry, yes.
This is something that several of us were talking about earlier this week. There's a forum at the Mass Maritime Academy on the Cape Bridges that Senator Fernandez is hosting. That will be from 5:30 to 7 on April 15th at Mass Maritime Academy. Just an opportunity to continue to follow up with what's going on with the bridge program.
Thank you. Okay. And then our community will be observing Passover beginning on April 12th, then Good Friday on April 18th, and Easter on April 20th. Important holidays. And then, please maintain the conditions in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, the overall threats to world peace, and those affected by natural emergencies in our thoughts and prayers. Motion to close?
Make a motion, we close meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. George, second by Mr. Hockter. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evenings and your holidays.